So why am I saying this? Why am I telling you that marginal benefit is going to equal marginal cost? People are going to try to do this. It's going to follow from the cost benefit principle, which we already talked about. So remember, the cost benefit principle said we're always going to choose, or we should always choose the option for which the benefits most exceed the costs. Right? Now, what I'm going to tell you is that if you take that seriously, we're going to show that the way that you can do that, the way that you can go through all these calculations and come up with the best answer every single time, is to figure out what marginal benefit is, figure out what marginal cost is, and set them equal to each other. That's the way that you can choose your best option from all the different options without having to draw out this tedious little table. So cost benefit principle says we should take the action if the benefits outweigh the costs, including all those indirect costs and benefits. So let's apply this to the decision of whether or not to purchase something, right? And let's think about it in terms of marginal benefit, marginal cost. So let's go back to the jalapeno. The jalapeno makes a reappearance. So deciding whether or not to buy the jalapeno, it cost me 20 cents. I value it at $3. So to the benefits, and we're comparing this to not buying anything at all. Okay, we're going to forget about the mill. So do the benefits outweigh the costs? Yes, yeah. The value of $3 that I get is higher than 20 cents that I have to give up. Well, let's take it a step further. Okay, so let's say that I already have bought a jalapeno. I have one jalapeno, and I'm deciding whether or not to get a second jalapeno. Okay. So if I already have one, the second one's not worth quite as much to me, right? If I'm making a pot of chili or something like that, you really need a jalapeno. Now, the second one might make it a little bit better, but not quite as much. So I'm going to say that I value the second jalapeno at only $2.50. So am I going to buy this second jalapeno? Yes, I am, right? Because $2.50 is still better than 20 cents. Okay. So we don't have to stop there. So let's think about what's going on. First of all, what's my marginal benefit here? Right. I'm a consumer. In this case, I'm deciding how many jalapenos to buy and consume. So my marginal benefit is whatever benefit I get from receiving an additional jalapeno, right? This is that same subjective valuation thing. You say, hey, I offer you either a jalapeno or $2.50, and I say, that's about the same to me for my second jalapeno. Right? Same idea as before, where it's just how much do you value this thing at personally, subjectively. Keeping in mind, it has nothing to do with the price of the jalapeno or the cost of making the jalapeno. It's just how much I get from having that jalapeno. So that's my marginal benefit. And as I said, the real key for any sort of economic question is figuring out what's marginal benefit, what's marginal cost for a given decision maker. That's my marginal benefit. It's my personal valuation. How about my marginal cost? What am I comparing that against? Well, marginal cost here is just what it costs me to buy a jalapeno, right? I have to give them 20 cents every time I go to buy a jalapeno. So that's going to be for every single jalapeno I could buy, it'd be 20 cents. Okay. So, and my marginal benefit, the benefit that I derive from getting a jalapeno or any number of jalapenos, my marginal cost is how much each jalapeno costs me, right? It's not the total amount I've spent on jalapenos, right? That would be the total cost. We're talking about the marginal cost of buying one more jalapeno. That's always going to be 20 cents. So based on that, I'm going to make a table. Okay. So this is considering how many jalapenos should I buy. And so for each number of jalapenos that I could buy, I've written down the marginal cost and the marginal benefit from those jalapenos. Okay. Now the marginal cost is 20 cents every single time. Because remember, this is the marginal cost. It's the cost of buying one more. So it's not going to go 20 cents, 40 cents, 60 cents, 80 cents because I bought, it's not going to be 80 cents because I bought 4 jalapenos. It's just 20 cents still, because this is asking the cost of one more jalapeno, which is always going to be 20 cents. Right? On the other side, we got marginal benefit. This is how much value I derive from getting one more jalapeno. So the first jalapeno I really like, I get $3 from it. The second one I still like, but not quite as much, $2.50, and then it keeps going down from there. Again, I'm not adding these up, right? If I, this isn't saying that I like having 6 jalapenos less than I like having 1 jalapeno. It's just saying that the 6th jalapeno does not provide me it by itself with as much additional joy as that first one, right? This is all on a per jalapeno basis. So we've got the marginal cost, we've got the marginal benefit. And as I said, I'm telling you the answer is that I'm going to try to find the number of jalapenos for which the marginal cost equals the marginal benefit. So why is that going to work? Why is that going to give me the best outcome for myself? Why am I fulfilling the cost benefit principle by looking for those two things are equal? I'm going to keep buying until marginal cost equals marginal benefit. Okay, so let's go through this. Let's think about this. Okay, we already established. Yeah, I'm going to buy that first jalapeno. $3 is more than 20 cents, so it's worth it, right? My benefit goes up by 3. My costs only go up by 20 cents. That's totally worth it. If we're already here, what happens for us to go to this row? Well, again, our benefits go up by 250. Our costs only go up by 20 cents. The benefits are going up by more than the cost. That's still totally worth it, right? You might see where this is going. If I keep going, every time I go down another row, I'm adding on the marginal benefit and I'm adding on the marginal cost. This is why we're focusing on the marginal benefit to cost, by the way, because that allows us to figure out what happens when we add just one more unit. Okay, so if we do the third one, adding $1 of benefit, adding 20 cents of cost, still worth it. Fourth one, adding 50 cents of benefit, adding 20 cents of cost, still worth it. 50 cents is better than 20 cents. And the last one, adding 20 cents of benefit, or adding to the fifth one, 20 cents of benefit, 20 cents of cost, that one breaks even, right? That's the point at which marginal benefit equals marginal cost. And so I don't want to stop before then, because I could be adding more benefit as opposed to more benefit than I could be adding cost. And once I'm here, I don't want to keep going, because if I keep going, I'm going to add 10 cents of benefit, but 20 cents of cost. That's not worth it. Right? So starting from nothing, as I add more and more and more, as long as the marginal benefit of the next one is greater than my marginal cost, I'm not done yet, because I could be making myself even better off, right? If I stopped at 2 jalapenos, I'd say, well, hold on a minute, I can be making myself better off by adding a third one. So the fact that these two things are not equal tells me I'm not done yet. And if I go too far and they're not equal again, I'd say, well, I'm not done yet because I bought too many. I should have bought less. So the place where you stop is where they're equal. Okay. So that's how we can get to the conclusion that we're going to be able to make ourselves as best off as possible when the marginal benefit equals the marginal cost. Because if they're not equal, that means that you could be making yourself better off by changing your behavior. Yep.
So, I mean, in the past when we talked about this, you referred to like being paid $3 to have the one jalapeno. So you're in the marginal benefit, that's like not getting paid at all. We're talking more about like the $3 being associated with like how much you prefer to have that jalapeno, or like.
Well, the getting paid $3 idea still applies. What this is saying is that if I were offered $3 or a jalapeno, I would consider those to be equal, right? And so that's where the $3 comes from. I'm never actually being paid $3 at any point, right? But I would consider getting this jalapeno the equivalent of being paid $3. And so if I'm getting paid $3 is obviously better than getting paid 20 cents. Okay, so, all right, so if they're not equal, we're not done yet. We can make ourselves better off. You think back to the equilibrium idea, that the market only sort of stops when there's no more unexploited opportunities. If we're up here, there's an unexploited opportunity. I can make myself better off by going down here, right? So if you're up here, you go down, you're down here, you go up, until you get to the point where there's nothing else you can do. As a minor aside, you might be thinking, well, hold on a minute, going from 4 to 5 didn't actually change anything, because I just added 20 cents on both the benefits and the costs. You're right. We're going to say that you're going to go ahead and buy this one anyway, because in this case, it doesn't matter because I've got whole round numbers of jalapenos. But once you get to like a continuous function, it's going to be equal exactly. So we're just going to say it's going to be equal exactly. Okay, so I'm going to keep buying until the marginal benefit equals the marginal cost. Because before that point, the benefits of continuing to go outweigh the cost, so I should keep going and buy more. And after the point, the benefits of continuing to buy more are less than the costs of doing so. So I should stop and maybe back up a little bit until they're equal. So from that, we get to the golden rule of economics. Marginal benefit equals marginal cost, right? Once I figure out what my marginal benefit is and what my marginal cost is, I just need to set them equal. And that's going to tell me what my behavior should be to make myself, how I should make decisions for myself to make myself as well as possible. But also how I can predict other people are going to behave, right? So this doesn't just apply to purchasing decisions, that's the example that we had, but it applies to everything. It applies to production decisions, to strategic decisions, to risky decisions, to investment decisions, to life decisions, to all sorts of stuff, right? Once we figure out what the marginal benefit and cost are, we can figure out what the model, what our prediction of behaviors. So in the context of a market, right, when we're talking about supply and demand, This is going to tell us how we make decisions about our quantity from our marginal benefit and marginal cost. By quantity, I mean both quantity demanded and quantity supplied. Because you can sort of guess what's going on here, right? What's this 20 cents? That's the price of the jalapeno. What do we care about in the supply and demand model? The price of the good. What did we get out of this table? How many jalapenos I decided to buy, what my quantity demanded is. At this price, I came to a quantity demanded. That's giving us a preview of how this sort of decision making is going to lead us towards what a demand curve actually is and where it comes from. And a very similar idea, a very similar process is going to lead us to a supply curve. Okay, so we're going to be able to figure out where decisions about quantity come from, both quantity demanded and quantity supplied, from thinking about marginal benefit and marginal cost on both sides of the market.